The interstellar transport glided silently through the endless black of space, its silver hull reflecting the faint glow of distant stars. Inside, the cabin hummed softly, a mixture of mechanical energy and human conversation. Passengers of various species moved about, some lounging, others checking data pads or talking quietly. Most were absorbed in their own worlds, yet a few eyes darted curiously toward the new arrival. She was unlike any passenger most of them had ever seen. Her skin shimmered faintly with colors that shifted with the light, like liquid metal under the sun. Her eyes were large and intelligent, reflecting a spectrum that seemed almost impossible to describe. Her hair flowed like silk, dark with hints of silver strands, and her movements were calm, deliberate, and graceful. She carried herself with a quiet dignity that immediately drew attention, yet that attention was not welcome. The passengers around her whispered softly, casting suspicious glances. Some subtly moved their belongings as if to create distance. A young human woman shifted her seat a few inches away, while a tall alien with green, scaled skin leaned his chair back to avoid sitting too close. Murmurs of discomfort spread through the cabin, a quiet but unmistakable wave of exclusion. It was a silent wall that grew stronger with each passing moment. Alex sat a few rows away, observing the scene. He was a human in his late 20s, with dark hair, steady eyes, and a calm demeanor. He often preferred to watch before acting, and in that instant he felt a mixture of surprise and disappointment. The way the other passengers reacted, almost instinctively, reminded him of old prejudices on Earth, though magnified by the vastness of the galaxy. He watched the alien woman, Lyra as her name tag read, settle herself into an empty seat, carefully keeping her distance from others. She did not complain, did not raise her voice. Instead, she merely adjusted her posture and looked out the window at the stars, a soft expression of patience on her face. There was a hint of sadness in her eyes, subtle but unmistakable. Alex's mind made a decision almost instantly. He gathered his small bag, stood, and walked calmly toward her. The whispers followed him, but he ignored them. He slid into the seat beside her without a word, placing his bag under the seat quietly. Lyra turned slightly, her eyes widening a fraction, surprise flickering across her face. "Hello," Alex said simply, his voice calm and friendly. Lyra's lips curved into a small, polite smile. "Hello," she replied, her tone measured but warm. Her voice carried a soft musical lilt, unlike any human speech. Alex noted it, and it made him even more curious. For several minutes, neither spoke. The hum of the ship filled the space between them, and the distant murmur of other passengers formed a quiet background. Alex could feel the tension around them, but Lyra did not seem uncomfortable. She remained poised, her hands folded in her lap, occasionally glancing out the window at passing stars. "You're human," she said after a while, her tone curious. "Yes," Alex replied. "I am. And you are?" "Lyra," she said simply. "From the planet Arendor. I know I appear different to most, but I assure you I mean no harm." Alex nodded. "I know. And I think different can be good. Interesting, even." He smiled lightly, trying to ease the tension. Lyra's eyes softened, a flicker of warmth, appearing where there had been only quiet caution. Around them the whispers continued, but their volume seemed to fade as Alex focused on Lyra. He realized that no one else would likely speak up for her. And he also realized that sometimes kindness required action, even if it was as simple as offering a seat. "What brings you on this ship?" he asked, genuinely curious. Lyra tilted her head, thinking. "I am traveling to the Andara station. It is a diplomatic mission. I am to meet representatives from various planets, but honestly," she added with a faint smile, "I also wanted to see the stars. They are beautiful from space." Alex glanced out the window and nodded. "They are. There's something about seeing the universe stretch like this. It puts things in perspective, makes you feel small but also part of something bigger." Lyra's eyes reflected the starlight as she studied him. I suppose humans feel that often. But on my world, we are taught to seek harmony. Space reminds us that we are only one part of a vast puzzle. I like your perspective. It is refreshing. They spoke for a while, their conversation gentle, exploring simple topics, the planets they had visited, their favorite kinds of stars, and the occasional oddity in galactic travel. Alex found her insights fascinating. She spoke of her home with pride, of traditions that celebrated knowledge, community, and understanding. Her culture was so different from Earth, yet there were similarities in how she valued trust, loyalty, and courage. A low vibration shook the cabin as the ship entered a minor turbulence zone. Passengers gripped their armrests or tables, anxious and irritated. Many muttered complaints at the inconvenience, but Lyra remained calm, almost serene. Alex noticed how her presence seemed to anchor him, and he felt a sense of steadiness amidst the jittery chaos. "You are calm," he said, glancing at her. "It is nothing," she replied, eyes steady. "The stars themselves are unpredictable. One learns to remain balanced." Alex smiled. He found himself thinking that humanity had much to learn from beings like her, wisdom that went beyond technology or strength. He realized that in the eyes of the other passengers, her difference was a threat. But to him, it was a chance, an opportunity to understand something beyond the familiar. The rest of the cabin slowly adjusted to her presence. Some passengers stole cautious glances at her, curiosity flickering through fear. Others whispered more loudly, their uncertainty manifesting in quiet critiques of her appearance and manner. Yet Alex remained beside her, unbothered by their judgment. He didn't need approval. He only needed to act with what he felt was right. After a while, Lyra relaxed slightly, leaning back in her seat. "It is comforting," she said softly, "to have someone sit beside me without fear or judgment. I have rarely experienced this." Alex nodded. "I think people often fear what they do not understand. But sometimes all it takes is a small gesture, a seat, a word, or a smile. That can change everything." Lyra studied him closely. There was a depth to her gaze that made Alex pause for a moment. It was as if she were searching his intentions, trying to see if he was genuine. He held her gaze, silently assuring her that he was. Finally, her lips curved into a fuller smile and she relaxed completely, settling into the seat with ease. Hours passed as the ship continued its journey. Outside the window, stars streaked by, leaving trails of shimmering light. Passengers dozed, or read or spoke quietly, while Alex and Lyra continued their calm exchange. They spoke of adventures they hoped to have, of questions about life and the universe, and of the shared silence that felt surprisingly comfortable. Alex noticed that the atmosphere in the cabin subtly shifted. A few passengers began to glance at Lyra with curiosity rather than fear. The whispers grew softer. Small gestures, a shared smile, a polite nod, suggested that slowly, the walls of prejudice were cracking. Alex didn't speak about it. He simply continued to sit beside her, listening and engaging when appropriate. Night, or what passed for night in the ship's artificial lighting, fell. The cabin dimmed, and soft panels of light glowed faintly along the ceiling. Passengers rested, their voices reduced to murmurs, and the hum of the engines filled the air. Alex and Lyra remained awake, sharing quiet conversation about the stars, the planets, and the wonders they hoped to witness. "You make humans seem more patient than they often are," Lyra said with a gentle laugh. Alex chuckled. "Maybe humans are capable of more than they often show. Maybe it just takes the right moment, or the right reason." Lyra tilted her head thoughtfully. "Perhaps. I hope many humans learn what you have already demonstrated." The stars outside stretched endlessly, each one a pinprick of light against the darkness. Alex felt a strange sense of connection, not just to Lyra, but to the universe around him. Space was vast and unknowable, Yet in that moment he felt that simple acts could ripple outward, shaping the journey in ways no one could predict. Finally, Lyra leaned back, her eyes half closed but bright with trust. "Thank you," she murmured, quietly. For moving over, for not speaking the words others left unspoken. Alex nodded, a small smile tugging at his lips. No thanks needed. Some things are just right. The ship glided on, carrying them deeper into the unknown. Two travelers from different worlds bound by a small, simple act of kindness. In the quiet, under the glow of distant stars, a friendship began to form. One that would shape not just their journey, but perhaps the journeys of those around them. And somewhere in the hum of the ship, in the quiet of the cabin, Alex felt, certain of one thing: no act of humanity, however small, was ever wasted. The interstellar transport continued its quiet journey through the endless black of space. Outside the window, stars drifted past, each one a tiny spark against the infinite darkness. Inside, the cabin had grown calmer after the earlier murmurs and whispers. Some passengers were asleep, some were reading, but most were quietly observing the alien woman, Lyra, who now sat with a subtle confidence beside Alex. Alex noticed the shift. Before, people had avoided her, but now a few cautious glances hinted at curiosity rather than fear. He did not mention it. Instead, he focused on Lyra, who seemed more relaxed than before. She no longer held herself in stiff formality, but leaned, slightly comfortable with his quiet presence. "So," Alex said after a pause, "tell me more about your world. Arendor, right?" Lyra's eyes brightened. "Yes, Arendor. It is far from here, several systems past the Helios belt. Our planet is mostly forests, mountains, and oceans that glow faintly at night. We live in harmony with nature and technology. Both are important, and neither should harm the other." Alex leaned back, imagining such a world. That sounds peaceful. Hard to imagine anywhere that calm these days. Lyra smiled softly. "Peaceful is not always safe. But we learn to respect life, even when danger comes. You humans, your species is resilient. That is admirable. Many of your worlds have survived challenges others could not endure." Alex felt a warmth in her words. Few aliens praised humans these days. Most viewed Earth as insignificant, a small, chaotic planet among countless worlds. Yet Lyra spoke without judgment, with honest respect. He found himself drawn to her perspective. "I think humans do survive," he said quietly. "Even when we make mistakes, we find ways forward. Sometimes that's all it takes, courage to keep moving." Lyra studied him, her eyes reflecting the faint cabin lights. "Courage," she repeated. "Yes, it is a rare quality even among intelligent species, but it is also contagious." Alex smiled. "I hope so. Maybe that's why I moved over. Someone needed to see that difference doesn't mean danger. Maybe it helps others be brave, too." Lyra's gaze softened. "You have taught me something as well, Alex. That small gestures can build bridges between worlds. I had feared humans might not understand me, might see me as alien. But you have proven otherwise." For a while they sat in silence, listening to the hum of the ship and the occasional soft footstep of a crew member passing through the aisle. Alex watched the stars stretch past, thinking of how vast the galaxy was and how small individual problems seemed in comparison. He realized that fear often came from misunderstanding, and curiosity could replace it if someone had the courage to act. Then a soft vibration ran through the ship. The cabin lights flickered briefly as the engines adjusted to minor turbulence. A few passengers stirred, some muttering complaints. Others gripped armrests nervously. Alex noticed Lyra's calm expression and felt a sense of reassurance. "You handle this well," he said, nodding toward her. "It is not discomforting," she said. "Storms, turbulence, changes, they are natural. One must adapt. You humans have yet to learn this fully, but some of you show great potential." Alex chuckled. "I'll take that as a compliment." "Indeed," Lyra said softly. "You are patient and considerate. Not many would move over without words or expectation." "That is Rare. Alex shrugged lightly. I just did what seemed right. Sometimes that is enough. Hours passed, and the conversation drifted naturally from planet to planet, from customs to stars, and from species to species. Alex learned that Lyra's people communicated not only with words, but also with subtle color changes in their skin, a language of emotion that could be understood with careful observation. She explained the nuances of her culture, the importance of community, the value of knowledge, and the belief that understanding others was the greatest form of strength. You see, Lyra said quietly, knowledge alone is not enough. One must know how to act, how to respond, how to connect. Otherwise, knowledge becomes a tool of separation rather than unity. Alex nodded thoughtfully. I like that. It's similar to humans in a way, but we often forget it. Too much fear, too much pride. Lyra glanced at him, eyes reflective. Fear is universal. Pride can be dangerous if unchecked. But courage and humility, they create harmony. Perhaps that is why I am learning from you as much as you learn from me. As their conversation continued, the ship's announcements came over the intercom. The next checkpoint was approaching. A routine scan of cargo and passengers. Some of the cabin grew tense, anticipating delays or minor inspections. Lyra, however, simply observed quietly, her composure steady. Alex noticed that several passengers were watching her more closely now, curiosity mixed with awe. Do you enjoy traveling in these ships often? Alex asked. Lyra shook her head slightly. Not often. Arendor is far. Diplomatic travel is usually done on ships of our own design, but human vessels are interesting. They are practical, reliable, and the crew works well together. I appreciate efficiency, Alex grinned. You might like Earth vessels too. They are less fancy but often clever. Humans are inventive when necessary. Lyra's smile widened faintly. I have heard that, and now I see it firsthand. Your species is capable of remarkable ingenuity. I had expected less order here, yet the opposite is true. For the first time, Alex noticed subtle gestures from other passengers. A young boy peeked from behind his mother's shoulder, staring at Lyra with wide eyes. Another alien, previously avoiding her, adjusted their seat slightly closer, still hesitant, but less distant. Alex realized that their curiosity had begun to outweigh their fear, and his simple act of moving over had started a chain reaction. The intercom buzzed again, and the captain's voice spoke clearly. Attention passengers, we are entering the edge of a minor spatial turbulence zone. All passengers, please remain seated and secured. Crew, please follow standard procedures. The ship shuddered lightly, a reminder of the unpredictable nature of space. A few passengers tensed, their hands gripping armrests. Lyra, however, remained calm, her hands folded in her lap, her eyes on the stars. Alex glanced at her, admiring her poise. You make this seem less alarming, he said softly. It is not alarm, Lyra replied. It is adjustment. One observes, calculates, and adapts. Fear only hinders thought. Courage allows action. Alex nodded slowly. He realized that bravery was not always about heroics or bold decisions. Sometimes it was simply about maintaining composure, about staying calm when others panicked, and about acting with integrity even when no one else would. Hours turned into a slow rhythm of conversation, observation, and quiet reflection. Alex and Lyra spoke of their hopes, the worlds they wished to see, and the lessons learned from their respective species. Alex found her insights profoundly moving. She seemed to understand not only the universe but also the human heart, with all its flaws, hopes, and courage. By the time the ship approached a minor checkpoint, the cabin atmosphere had shifted completely. Passengers were no longer whispering with suspicion. Many were quietly watching Lyra, some even leaning forward slightly, intrigued. Alex noticed one man quietly nodding to himself, as if acknowledging a truth he had not seen before. Lyra's eyes flickered briefly to Alex. I am grateful, she said softly, not just for the seat, but for the conversation, for the understanding. You humans often move too quickly, too loudly, but you show patience. Alex smiled, feeling the weight of her words. I think patience is a kind of courage too, and sometimes it's all that's needed to make a difference. The stars outside glimmered faintly, a reminder of the infinite possibilities ahead. Alex realized that this journey was about more than just travel. It was about connection, about understanding, and about the quiet power of simple gestures. He had moved over without a word, but in doing so he had opened a door, one that led to friendship, respect, and perhaps something even more profound. Lyra glanced at him, eyes reflecting the cabin lights. You have shown me more than you realize, Alex. Perhaps when this journey ends, it will be remembered not for the distance traveled, but for the lessons learned along the way. Alex nodded quietly. Perhaps. And maybe. The next time someone is afraid to sit beside someone new, they will remember this, that even the smallest choice can make a difference. The ship hummed steadily as it continued toward its destination, stars streaking past in a silent river of light. Alex and Lyra remained side by side, two travelers from different worlds, connected by a shared moment of understanding. Outside, the galaxy stretched endlessly, vast and unknowable, yet within the cabin, a small corner of the universe had become brighter, warmer, and infinitely more promising. The transport glided steadily through space, but the calm of the journey was soon interrupted. A sudden vibration ran through the hull, gentle at first, then growing stronger. The cabin lights flickered, and a low alarm sounded. Passengers stirred, uneasily, and whispers spread quickly through the rows of seats. Alex, still seated beside Lyra, tightened his grip on the armrest, though he remained calm. Lyra, in contrast, did not flinch. Her eyes flicked to the console lights and the ship's readouts with quiet calculation. Minor turbulence? She asked softly, more to herself than to Alex. Not exactly, Alex replied. I think it's something stronger. The ship's engines are compensating, but this feels unusual. A crew member rushed down the aisle, shouting orders. All passengers remain seated and secure. Cabin crew, check all systems immediately. The tension in the cabin grew as the vibrations intensified. Several passengers began murmuring in fear. A few held onto nearby poles for support. Alex noticed Lyra's calm composure, and it steadied him. It's okay, he said quietly. We'll manage this. Just stay calm. Lyra inclined her head slightly. Yes, panic solves nothing. Observe, analyze, act. The ship shuddered again, stronger this time. Outside the reinforced windows, the stars seemed to flicker as the ship passed through a dense field of charged particles, an unexpected spatial storm. The storm disrupted navigation systems and interfered with the ship's instruments. Crew members rushed to consoles, their hands moving rapidly as they tried to stabilize the ship. Engine output is fluctuating, one engineer shouted. We're losing stabilization. Alex turned to Lyra. Can you help in any way? He asked, unsure if she had the skills for such a crisis. Lyra's eyes narrowed thoughtfully. My species has natural resistance to electromagnetic fields. I can interface with the navigation systems and help stabilize them, but I will need access to the main console. Alex nodded immediately. Then let's do it. He stood and moved with her toward the front of the cabin, past passengers who stared in disbelief. Some whispered about her abilities, others simply gaped. The captain met them at the entrance to the bridge, tense but desperate. You can help? The captain asked, her tone a mixture of hope and skepticism. Lyra inclined her head. I can assist. The storm's electromagnetic interference is minor for my physiology. I can recalibrate the navigation controls faster than your systems alone. The captain hesitated, then gestured toward the main console. Do it. We'll trust you, but hurry. Lyra stepped forward, her hands hovering over the controls. She placed them carefully on the interface, and a faint glow spread from her fingertips. The ship's systems responded almost immediately. Indicators began stabilizing. Energy fluctuations diminished. The hum of the engines shifted from frantic to steady. Passengers watched in awe. Alex stood beside her, offering quiet support. "You're doing great," he said. "Just keep steady." Lyra's focus did not waver. "We are almost aligned. Energy flow, recalibrated. Navigation, stabilized." The ship shuddered one last time before the vibration began to subside. The storm's influence lessened, and the engines resumed normal operation. The cabin exhaled collectively, though quietly, as the immediate danger passed. A young human child in the back, who had been clutching a parent's arm, stared wide-eyed at Lyra. "She saved the ship," the child whispered. "Yes," Alex said softly, placing a reassuring hand on the child's shoulder. "She helped everyone stay safe." The passengers began to realize the importance of Lyra's presence. Their fear slowly turned into admiration. Some approached the console to thank her, though awkwardly, unsure of the proper etiquette. Even the most skeptical aliens offered nods of respect. Lyra finally withdrew her hands from the controls and straightened. Her skin shimmered slightly, reflecting the cabin lights, a subtle sign of her exertion. Alex noticed the faint tiredness in her posture, but also the quiet pride. "You were amazing," Alex said. "Everyone saw how capable you are." Lyra smiled faintly. "I merely did what was necessary. The ship needed stability. Courage alone does not protect a vessel. Knowledge and action do." Alex nodded. "And a calm mind helps too. You taught us that, even without words." The rest of the journey resumed in a more peaceful rhythm. Passengers who had once whispered or avoided Lyra now gave her cautious smiles or polite questions. She answered gently, explaining some of her people's techniques for handling electromagnetic interference and other natural phenomena. Her explanations were simple, clear, and surprisingly engaging, even to those unfamiliar with her species. Alex stayed beside her, listening and asking questions. He realized how rare it was to encounter someone so different, yet so understanding. The calm bravery she had shown was inspiring, and it reminded him of what humans could achieve when fear was replaced with trust and collaboration. "Do humans often act like this?" Lyra asked quietly, once the initial excitement had faded. "Sometimes," Alex replied. "It depends on the person. Some people are afraid of what they don't understand. Others step up. It just takes one person to change the atmosphere." Lyra considered this. "Then you are exceptional. To have moved beside me, to offer trust when others withheld it. That is rare. Very rare." Alex shrugged lightly, feeling the weight of her words. "Maybe. Or maybe it's just common sense. Fear doesn't help anyone, and some things just deserve respect." Lyra's gaze softened. "Respect? Yes. That is a concept many of your species struggles with, but you have shown it in action. That is remarkable." The ship entered calmer space as the storm faded. Outside, the stars returned to their steady brilliance, streaking past as if nothing had happened. The cabin gradually returned to normal. Passengers resumed reading, resting, or quietly conversing, though many still glanced at Lyra with renewed interest and admiration. Alex and Lyra continued their conversation, shifting from the immediate crisis to broader topics. They spoke of planets they wished to explore, stars that fascinated them, and the wonders of the galaxy yet unseen. Alex found himself learning more about the universe in hours than he had in years. Lyra, in turn, seemed genuinely interested in human ingenuity and perspective. "It is strange," Lyra said thoughtfully, "to be both feared and admired in the same journey. Your species often judges quickly, yet can also recognize value when it is shown." Alex nodded. "Humans are complicated that way. We fear what we don't understand, but we can also surprise ourselves. Sometimes, it just takes one person to show the right example." Lyra's eyes reflected the faint cabin lights, glimmering with thought. Then perhaps this journey will leave more than just a mark on space. Perhaps it will leave a mark on the hearts of those who witnessed it. Alex smiled. I hope so. Everyone deserves a chance to see the truth behind appearances. You've shown them that. Hours passed and the cabin lights dimmed slightly for the artificial night cycle. Passengers began to rest again, and the hum of the ship settled into a steady rhythm. Alex stayed beside Lyra, listening to the soft sound of the engines and the occasional murmur of crew members ensuring the systems were fully stable. You know, Alex said quietly, I think this journey is teaching us both something important, not just about space or stars or technology, but about courage, patience, and trust. Lyra nodded. Indeed. And about the power of action without expectation. A simple act, a seat offered, a hand extended, can change outcomes beyond what one imagines. Alex glanced at her, the soft glow of the cabin reflecting in her eyes. You've made a difference too, Lyra. You didn't just stabilize the ship. You reminded everyone that calm, reasoned action works better than panic or prejudice. She inclined her head, a small smile forming. Then we have learned together that is a valuable lesson. Outside, the galaxy stretched endlessly, but inside the cabin a sense of unity had formed. Passengers who had once avoided Lyra now recognized her courage and intelligence. Alex realized that his choice to move over had set a chain reaction, in motion, one that might last far beyond this single journey. As the ship moved deeper into the calm reaches of space, Alex and Lyra sat quietly, sharing simple conversation and thoughtful silences. The stars streaked past, reminders of the vast unknown, yet within the cabin, humanity and kindness had left a clear mark. By the time the artificial night ended and the ship approached the next checkpoint, passengers had shifted. Some were openly curious, asking polite questions about Lyra's people, their technology, and her experiences. Even those who had originally avoided her now observed with interest and respect. Alex looked at Lyra, noting her quiet satisfaction. You've changed things here, he said softly. Lyra smiled faintly. Perhaps, but it was your choice that began the change. One act of courage, simple and quiet, can ripple outward in ways few realize. Alex nodded. I guess we both learned something today, about space, about people, and about what it means to act without fear. The stars outside continued their endless journey, and the ship glided steadily onward, carrying its passengers deeper into the galaxy. Two travelers from different worlds sat side by side, connected by courage, understanding, and the quiet strength of kindness in the face of uncertainty. And in that quiet moment, Alex realized something profound. The universe was vast, but even in the smallest choices, humanity's light could shine brightly. The interstellar transport had passed through the storm and returned to calm space. The hum of the engines was steady, almost soothing, and passengers were slowly settling back into their routines. Yet something had changed in the cabin. The whispers and suspicious glances that had followed Lyra at the beginning of the journey were gone, replaced by quiet curiosity. Alex noticed it immediately. People who had avoided her now lingered nearby, asking polite, cautious questions. A few brave souls had even approached her to learn more about her world, her species, and her experiences. Lyra, for her part, responded with patience and warmth, answering every question carefully and respectfully. Alex remained beside her, listening, sometimes asking clarifying questions, sometimes simply observing. He felt a sense of pride, quiet, unspoken, at how things were shifting. He had not sought recognition or thanks, yet the simple act of moving over had begun to ripple outward, changing perceptions. A young human girl, no older than 10, approached Lyra hesitantly. She had bright eyes, full of curiosity, and clutched a small data pad in her hands. Hello, she said softly. Are you really from Arendor? Lyra's eyes softened, and her lips curved into a gentle smile. Yes, I am. And you, young one, are from Earth? The girl nodded eagerly. Yes, I've read about other planets, but I never thought I'd meet someone from one. Can you tell me about the glowing oceans? Lyra's smile widened. Of course. At night, the oceans of Arendor sparkle with tiny bioluminescent creatures. They light up the water like stars reflected on the surface. It is a sight that reminds us of the beauty and mystery of life. The girl's eyes widened. Wow, that sounds amazing. I wish I could see it someday. Alex watched the interaction, quietly, a smile tugging at his lips. It was a simple thing, a child's curiosity, yet it carried a powerful message. Fear could be replaced with curiosity, suspicion with admiration, and barriers could dissolve with gentle understanding. Other passengers began to approach as well, each asking questions about Lyra's abilities, culture, and experiences. Even aliens who had once avoided her now listened intently, learning from her stories. Lyra explained not just the technical aspects of her species, but the values that guided them: respect for life, patience in the face of danger, and the belief that understanding others was the key to harmony. Alex joined the discussions when appropriate, helping translate or clarify points. He noticed that a few passengers began to share their own experiences, stories of their home planets, and lessons learned from challenges they had faced. Slowly, the cabin transformed from a place of fear and avoidance into a space of dialogue, learning, and shared curiosity. At one point, the captain's voice came over the intercom. Attention passengers, we are entering the outer sector of the transit corridor. All passengers are reminded to remain seated, but you may continue to interact as long as safety protocols are observed. Alex glanced at Lyra. Looks like they're giving you more freedom. People are listening. Lyra inclined her head. Yes, it is an opportunity. Moments like these allow understanding to grow. Even the smallest exchange can change perspectives. As the transport moved deeper into space, the passengers began to relax further. A small group of humans and aliens gathered near the observation window, discussing the stars and the planets they had visited. Lyra shared stories of her travels, describing cities built on floating islands, forests that sang with the wind, and skies that shimmered with color. Alex listened, occasionally adding details about Earth's wonders, drawing parallels that made the group smile and laugh. A young alien with bright yellow skin and 4 arms spoke up, curiosity replacing earlier distrust. Your species, humans, are capable of remarkable acts. The way you treat Lyra is surprising. I expected you to ignore her. Alex shrugged lightly. Some of us try to do what's right even when others don't. I think it's worth it. If you start with respect, everything else follows. Lyra nodded. Indeed. It is a lesson I hope spreads beyond this cabin. Respect begins with small choices, and the results often extend farther than one imagines. Throughout the journey, Alex and Lyra remained close. They continued their conversations, discussing not only their own experiences, but also broader topics: the nature of exploration, the responsibilities of travelers, and the importance of connecting across species and cultures. They spoke of courage, not the kind found only in battle, but the quiet courage to act rightly, to face fear without hesitation, and to offer trust when others withheld it. One afternoon, the cabin's soft lighting created a warm atmosphere. Lyra looked out the observation window, watching distant stars drift by. Alex followed her gaze. Do you ever feel lonely out here? He asked. Lyra paused, considering the question. Sometimes, traveling alone can be isolating. But when one finds connection, even briefly, it changes everything. You have reminded me of that today, Alex, and I am grateful. Alex smiled softly. We all need connection, and sometimes it comes from the most unexpected places. Their conversation was interrupted by a passenger approaching with a question. It was an older human man, hesitant, but polite. Lyra, I hope you don't mind me asking, but how do you remain so calm in dangerous situations? The storm earlier, it was frightening, but you handled it like it was nothing. Lyra turned to him, her expression gentle. Calm comes from preparation and understanding. Fear is natural, but it can be managed with knowledge and focus. Panic serves no purpose. Courage, patience, and action, that is what guides us. The man nodded slowly, absorbing her words. I see. That makes sense. I should try to remember that next. Time. Alex watched silently, feeling a sense of quiet satisfaction. Lyra's presence was changing people, not through force or argument, but through example, conversation, and the simple demonstration of calm, intelligence, and kindness. By evening, the cabin had transformed further. Passengers who had once avoided her now sought her company. Small groups gathered to hear her stories or ask questions, and she answered with the same patience and warmth she had shown from the beginning. Even the crew occasionally paused to watch, impressed by the impact she had on the cabin's atmosphere. Alex noticed one young child, the same one from earlier, holding a small data pad and sketching stars and planets. The child glanced at Lyra, then at Alex and whispered, "I want to see Arendor one day." Lyra smiled, reaching out to gently touch the child's shoulder. "Perhaps one day you will. And when you do, remember the stars you have seen today. They are guides, not just through space, but through life." Alex felt a quiet pride at the scene. This journey had started with exclusion, whispers, and fear. But now, curiosity, admiration, and respect filled the cabin. People were listening, learning, and changing their perspectives. As night fell in the artificial cycle of the ship, passengers settled into quiet routines. Alex and Lyra remained together, talking softly, sharing insights about their worlds and hopes for the future. The stars outside stretched endlessly, but within the cabin, a sense of unity and understanding had formed. Alex realized that the journey was more than transportation. It was a chance to bridge gaps, to show that humanity's strength lay not only in exploration or technology, but in courage, empathy, and simple acts of kindness. Lyra had taught him much, just as he had shown her trust and companionship. In that quiet moment, Alex reflected on what had changed. The cabin was no longer a place of avoidance or suspicion. It was a place of learning, connection, and curiosity. And it all began with one small decision: moving over to offer a seat. Lyra glanced at him, her eyes reflecting the soft cabin light. "This journey has been instructive, not only for the passengers but for me as well. And it is your choice." "Alex, that began the change." Alex shook his head slightly. "It wasn't just me. You've helped too in your own way. Courage, knowledge, calmness. You've shown everyone what's possible when fear is replaced with understanding." The stars continued to drift past the windows, silent witnesses to the quiet transformation inside the cabin. Two travelers from different worlds sat side by side, connected not by obligation but by trust, respect, and the quiet power of kindness in action. As the ship sailed further into the galaxy, Alex and Lyra shared a quiet thought, unspoken but mutual. The journey was far from over, and the lessons they had begun to teach would extend far beyond the walls of the cabin. One day, the ripple of understanding and courage they had sparked might reach across the stars, and in that understanding Alex felt something profound. The universe was vast, but even a single choice, small, quiet, and brave, could leave a mark that would echo across worlds. The space station's landing platform buzzed with activity as the transport ship's doors opened. Passengers stepped onto the metal walkway, stretching tired limbs after the long journey. Alex and Lyra were among the last to disembark. Around them, travelers hurried past, some glancing curiously at Lyra, others now nodding politely, a subtle sign of respect. Alex noticed the change with a small, satisfied smile. It was not the applause or admiration that mattered, but the quiet shift in hearts and minds he had helped spark. Lyra's iridescent skin shimmered under the station's artificial lights, shifting through soft hues as she moved. Her eyes reflected the complex energy of the bustling terminal. Though she was an alien, Her calm demeanor and composed posture drew attention in a way humans could not easily ignore. Alex walked beside her, careful to stay close yet not imposing. He had learned that respect was shown not just in words but in actions and presence. A small group of passengers from the ship approached them, including a young human family. The mother smiled at Lyra and bowed slightly, gesturing for her child to come forward. "Would you like to tell her what you made?" she asked the boy. He hesitated for a moment, then held out a small mechanical toy he had been tinkering with during the journey. Lyra's eyes brightened as she knelt to the child's level. "It's beautiful," she said in her soft, melodic voice. "You built this yourself?" The boy nodded proudly. "I wanted to make something that could move on its own." Lyra reached out and gently adjusted a tiny gear. With a small push, the toy moved forward, rolling steadily across the floor. The child laughed, clapping his hands. Alex felt a warm glow in his chest as he watched the connection unfold. This was exactly the kind of bridge between worlds he had hoped to foster. Simple kindness and understanding had the power to unite even the most unlikely companions. A station attendant approached, guiding passengers toward customs and luggage collection. Alex and Lyra followed quietly, their movements synchronized almost instinctively. Lyra spoke softly as they walked. "Alex, I never expected such a simple gesture to have so much impact. Sitting beside me, it changed everything." Alex shrugged, trying to mask the warmth that surged inside him. "I didn't do it to change anything. I just didn't like seeing someone treated unfairly." Lyra's eyes glimmered. "Still, your choice gave me hope, and perhaps it gave others hope too." They passed through the terminal, where holographic signs displayed destinations and schedules. The station was massive, a sprawling network of platforms, walkways, and docking bays. Ships of all sizes landed and took off, leaving trails of light in the artificial sky above. Travelers bustled about, some human, some alien, each carrying stories, cargo, and lives intertwined with countless worlds. Amid the chaos, Alex realized how small yet significant their journey had been. As they reached the customs checkpoint, a young officer glanced at Lyra with a mixture of curiosity and hesitation. Alex stepped forward slightly, a quiet shield. "She is with me," he said firmly, his tone carrying both authority and reassurance. The officer nodded and processed their paperwork without further hesitation. Lyra's hand brushed lightly against his as they stepped forward, a silent gesture of gratitude. Alex felt a brief warmth in his palm, an acknowledgement of trust that required no words. Once clear of customs, the station's public area opened up, a wide plaza with shops, cafes, and observation decks overlooking the stars. People of countless species walked side by side, conversing in a multitude of languages. Alex guided Lyra to a quieter observation area near the edge of the platform. From there, they could see the vastness of space, with ships gliding silently between distant colonies and star systems. Lyra stood at the railing, gazing outward. Her posture was reflective, as if she could see more than the human eye allowed. Alex joined her, leaning on the rail beside her. The silence between them was comfortable, filled with mutual respect and understanding. "Humans, you are different from what I expected," Lyra said softly. "I thought fear and suspicion would always dominate. But you act from your heart." Alex laughed lightly. "Most humans are afraid of the unknown. I guess I just decided not to be. Sometimes all it takes is one small choice." Lyra turned to him, her eyes bright. "One small choice. Yes, and that choice made a difference for many. I will remember that." The moment was interrupted by a soft chime from Alex's communicator. He glanced down and saw a message from the ship's captain, thanking passengers for their cooperation and wishing them well in the station. Alex read it aloud to Lyra, smiling. "The captain appreciates our journey together," he said. "He says the ship has never carried a more diverse group of travelers so peacefully." Lyra smiled, a quiet, genuine expression that lit her features. "Then perhaps humans are capable of more than they believe. Perhaps we all are." They walked through the plaza, exploring the shops and kiosks. Alex noticed small trinkets, gadgets, and foods from various worlds. Lyra's curiosity was evident in every gesture, her hands hovering over displays, her eyes widening with interest. Alex found himself enjoying her perspective, noticing details he would have overlooked. They shared stories about their homes, cultures, and past experiences, each tale deepening their connection. At one point, they paused near a large viewing window. Beyond the glass, a massive freighter was being loaded with cargo, cranes moving, with precision automated systems humming in synchronization. Alex and Lyra watched for a long while, feeling the hum of the station and the rhythm of life within it. "Alex," Lyra said after a moment, "do you think humans and aliens can truly coexist peacefully?" Alex considered the question carefully. "I think it depends on choices, on willingness to understand rather than fear. Today we proved that even small gestures matter. One person can change many minds." Lyra nodded, her gaze returning to the stars. "Then perhaps the future is brighter than I imagined." As evening approached, the station's lights shifted to softer tones, casting long reflections on the polished floors. Travelers began to head toward accommodations or transport hubs for their next destinations. Alex and Lyra found a quiet cafe overlooking the docking bays and took a seat. The cafe was lively but not crowded, a perfect place for conversation. Over warm beverages, they reflected on the journey. Lyra spoke of her homeworld struggles, the misunderstandings she had faced among humans, and the moments of loneliness that accompanied her travels. Alex listened intently, sharing stories of human resilience, adaptability, and compassion. Each exchange strengthened the bond between them, a connection forged not through grand gestures, but through attention, empathy, and shared experiences. The night deepened, the station's viewports revealed a cascade of stars stretching infinitely. Ships glided past, leaving trails of light that shimmered against the dark expanse. Alex realized that the galaxy was vast, filled with countless beings, each with their own stories. Yet, in that moment, he felt a profound sense of connection, not just with Lyra, but with the idea that understanding and kindness could bridge worlds. Finally, it was time to part ways. Lyra had an appointment with an interstellar research council, and Alex had contacts on a nearby human colony. They stood at the edge of the observation deck, the hum of the station surrounding them. "Thank you, Alex," Lyra said softly, her voice carrying a mixture of gratitude and admiration, "for sitting beside me, for listening, for showing that humans can choose understanding over fear." Alex smiled. "I didn't do anything special. I just did what felt right. But I'm glad it made a difference." Lyra extended her hand, and Alex took it firmly. The gesture was simple, but it conveyed trust, respect, and the promise of future friendship. "Perhaps one day," Lyra said, "our paths will cross again, in another place, another journey." Alex nodded. "I hope so. And when they do, I'm sure it will be just as extraordinary." With a final nod, Lyra turned and walked toward her transport pod, her steps confident, her presence commanding yet graceful. Alex watched her go, feeling a mixture of admiration and hope. Around him, passengers continued their activities, some now glancing at him with newfound respect for his quiet courage. As he turned to leave, Alex realized that the journey had not ended with arrival. The lessons of kindness, courage, and empathy would continue, not just for him and Lyra, but for everyone who had witnessed or been affected by their actions. One small choice, one simple act of sitting beside someone who was ignored, had ripple effects far beyond what anyone could have predicted. Alex took a deep breath, stepping into the flow of travelers. The station stretched endlessly before him, a place of possibilities and stories yet to be written. He knew that in the vastness of the galaxy, there were countless moments where small acts of courage could spark change. And perhaps, just perhaps, he had taken the first step toward a future where humans and aliens could truly coexist, not just in proximity, but in understanding, respect, and friendship. As he walked away, Alex allowed himself a small, contented smile. He had done what Felt right, and it had mattered. Somewhere out there, Lyra would carry the memory of his gesture, and he would carry hers. Two worlds, two lives, linked by something as simple as shared trust and mutual respect. A quiet proof that humanity, when brave and kind, could shine brightly even among the stars. And with that thought, Alex stepped